everyone. I'm Larry Myers for ESPN. With me, Dave Despain. That huge crowd going to be tremendous.
Because for a football game, Larry, the passing game will be the emphasis. And everybody knows they've got to get to the front tonight. That's where the championship points are paid. If you're looking for a great draft prospect, take this rookie kid, Motacevich. He's your series point leader.
And that rookie, Motacevich, won his first ever Supercross 1 week ago in Las Vegas. Let's take a look at the action.
And that action got started early here, right after the drop of the starting gate. Watch these Suzukis on the near side of your screen, number 6 and number 10. Number 10, Michael Rocco, smacked the back of Jeff Ward. Number 3 took him down. Ronnie Tishner, number 6, got involved in it as well. Everybody's struggling to get back and get underway. And in the meantime, the struggle up front involved number 7, pole shot artist Doug Dubach, and the eventual winner of the race, number 20, Jeff Motacevich. In fact, this battle really didn't last very long. Motacevich set Dubach up through this set of whoop-de-doos, took a look down to the inside and said, I can get there before he does. Perhaps touched his front wheel. In any case, set Dubach sideways, and that was basically the end of that. Because once Motacevich got out front, he just took the bit in his teeth and kept on trucking. He'd never won a Supercross coming into this one. He'd been second, he'd been third, he'd been close, but he won this one going away. Left the battle for second to number 1, Jeff Stanton, and the 22 of Jean-Michel Bale. Bale was spectacular, riding at the razor edge of control, making the pass on Stanton, and he went on to a runner-up finish. All in all, the Frenchman continues to be one of the most consistent riders in this Supercross series, although in terms of style, he has been anything but consistent. He gets tired late in the races. Motacevich, very, very happy with this one. Had never won a Supercross before. The point leader puts his first victory in the bag. And as the fans went crazy here in Las Vegas, this man, more and more, looks like the guy to beat in Supercross.
It felt really good, getting seconds and thirds. After a while, it get a little disappointing. You know you can win. You just hadn't had the brakes. And in Las Vegas, everything was going my way. I had all the brakes and just rode really fast and smooth and came out on top, and it felt really great. I know now that I can win, and I'm definitely going to give 100% here tonight to win.
Jeff Motacevich is fired up and confident. You've got to like his chances tonight.
If I were his team manager, only one thing would bother me, and that's his comments about not liking to finish second and third. Naturally, no racer likes that, but Motacevich needs to remember that consistency is the key to winning the championship. Of course, he's a young kid. He wants to win races, but the championship will be decided with those second and third place finishes.
And the seconds and third are what put him up on top of the points heap. In a few moments, we'll take a look at the qualifying action that took place earlier here today. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the track built here in the Rose Bowl.
Been a lot of history made between the goalposts here in Pasadena. Tonight, a lot of challenge awaits these riders. Tight corners, rough whoopty-doops, and huge jumps the fans are going to love. It's most exciting when you see it from the seat of a Scott bike can.
Hit the bumps, the jumps, and the whoops on this Pasadena track 20 times. That's how many laps they'll have to run in that main event. Keep your bike up front. You'll walk away with that checkered flag and the Pasadena win. We'll be right back. Now, it boiled down to a contest between a couple of first-year 250cc Supercross riders, and they went at it that way, Dave, throughout this race. Number 17 on the right-hand side of your screen. Aboard the yellow Suzuki is Larry Ward. Now, he has won one of the Supercross events this year. Did it up in his hometown of Seattle. The man he's fighting with, number 11, Mike Kidrowski, the defending 125cc outdoor national champion. You can throw all that away, though, when it comes to indoors and Supercross time. Kidrowski and Ward throughout this heat race provided all kinds of action. And look at this on the last lap. Almost taking Kerry Mulligan, number 178, who was parked sideways on the track, almost taking him out of the picture entirely. Headed for the checkered flag, Larry Ward with a slight lead over Kidrowski. He's going to bring it on home, and he'll win the first heat race of the evening.
This is a great setup for the main event for Ward because it gives him that confidence. He knows he can beat Kudrowski. Mike has struggled this year in Supercross. He's been great outdoors, but indoors he seems to have a little problem with his timing and his rhythm. And you see there, he's just a little out of shape going into that corner. He's not really in position to try to make the pass, and so Ward says, nah, 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 and takes the heat race win.
And it was a mighty happy Larry Ward, too. Great cross-up. Mike Kudrowski finishing second. That's where he was throughout most of that heat. Dubach third, Guy Cooper fourth. Eric Keyhole captures the final transfer position. He's riding as a privateer Honda this year. That's Jeff Stanton in heat race number 2. He's the defending Supercross champ. He's the only rider on the track with a number plate, a different color. His is blue, the designation of the Camel Supercross champion. The rest of them, of course, are white with black numerals. He's followed by number 22, Jean-Michel Bale, his Honda teammate. Now, teammates are teammates, but when it comes to racing, well, teammates really don't get into the picture, Dave. This is every man for themselves.
Well, it certainly is, and it's interesting that these two guys have ended up racing each other so often this year. Perhaps it's the fact that their bikes are equally matched. Maybe Bale, the less experienced Supercross rider, tries to follow Stanton and figure out what he's doing right and wrong. Maybe he figures he's a good guy to learn from. In any case, they've had a bunch of battles this season, and they've got another one this time in the heat. And as they're in the last lap, Stanton clearly has the better of it. Bale dropping off the pace very late here and settling, I think, for second. He didn't want to take any chances.
Well, it was just 1 week ago in the Las Vegas main event. Those positions were reversed. Jeff Stanton running in a number 2 position after being passed, I should say number 3. He was passed for the number 2 position by Bale, and he settled for that 3rd spot. So Stanton takes qualifier number 2, followed by Bale. Johnny O'Mara, 1984 Supercross champ, finishes 3rd. Denny Stevenson, a 125 rider on the East Coast, but riding 250s on the West, finishes 4th with Mike Fisher in the number 5 position. Heat number 3, there's our Supercross Series leader out of La Habra Heights, California, Jeff Matiasevich, rider number 20, and he's chased by his teammate, Jeff Ward.
Luck of the draw. A lot of times you end up with heat stacked by teams, and this way it turned out with Kawasaki having the nod in this one. The interesting story here is the matchup of the youngster and the veteran. These guys ride together, they train together, but when they get on the racetrack together, they are perhaps each other's bitterest rivals, and Ward talked about that earlier today.
Well, he's my teammate, and I think we've raced together well up till now, and we're out there to win the race. I treat him as I would any other rider on the track with respect, and I don't go out there to take anybody out. I'm just out there to win, and I do what I have to win, and it's never a cheap shot.
Well, if cheap shot is on your mind, you can bet that it's not going to be with a teammate, particularly among these two riders. Ward has worked with Matiasevich throughout the season. Now watch as Ward gets a good drive out of that corner and through the whoops. Looks like he's got the pass made, and in fact, if he had been racing anyone other than Matiasevich, I think that he would have made the pass. He'd have taken him clear up to the bales and even pushed him off to the track probably, and that wouldn't be called a cheap shot. It's just good Supercross racing. So Ward letting up just a little bit when he's battling with Matiasevich.
You know, it's almost as if Ward was trying to pressure Matiasevich here. He could have gotten around him twice there, Larry. I'm convinced he had a better line, and he had as good a drive, and it seemed like he just let Matiasevich go. That's very unusual for a competitor of Ward's capacity, and maybe I'm reading it all wrong, but it almost looked like he was content to follow Matiasevich in places where he could have passed him, and it may be part of that training program that you're talking about. Ward is passing on what he's learned from his many years of experience to the new emerging Kawasaki star.
Well, Ward is a veteran. Now, we talked about that earlier. He knows, number one, in a heat race that you have to get out of that heat race in order to qualify for that main event. You don't get any points. You don't get any money. You know, there's nothing there except a couple of guys running across the track right now. They're playing dodgems at about 50 or 60 miles an hour with motorcycles, yeah. But you get nothing for winning that heat race other than a better pick.
For what crime? For being in the wrong neighborhood?
You would. You see, this is...
So, whoa, look at that. You said pressure. Now, the pressure is on Matiasevich, and I guess Ward is going to let him make the mistake if indeed he will make the mistake, and he just about made one there.
We saw him do that earlier this year. He clipped the bales on a straightaway like that instead of whoop-de-doos, and it cost him position. In this case, he escaped it unscathed, but that was close. I think maybe that's what Ward's doing. He's just trying to pressure Matiasevich into a bobble and take it the easy way. But Your point's well taken, Larry. He doesn't want to take a crazy chance in the heat race. You save that for the main event.
Well, most of the veterans, you know, they'll tell you that it's easier to ride behind and watch the other guy's line than it is to be out in front. Now, Matiasevich has to be concerned about several things at this point. Number one, of course, he doesn't want to be passed. He wants that confidence going into the main event of knowing that he won his heat, knowing he knows where the lines are, knowing he can keep Jeff Ward behind him. So that's what he's concentrating on. He's worried about keeping Ward back there. Now they're worried about lapped riders. So they've really got to be careful. And it's getting interesting in this heat race. Look at that melee.
This time he really came after it, using the traffic, gets alongside. White flag is there. 1 lap to go. Again, Matiasevich pulls him off. That time I think Ward wanted the spot, and Jeff just held him at bay.
Into the last lap. Now, if you're Jeff Ward, what you do at this point is look for an opening. If it's a great big opening, you'll go ahead and take it. If it's going to be tight, it's going to be tough, you're going to back out of the situation and let Matiasevich have the win.
The other thing here to consider is that Ward knows the way Matiasevich has been working lately, and especially a week ago at Vegas, that he's probably going to be a front runner in the main event. Ward knows everything he needs to know now about what Matiasevich is doing on this racetrack. Comes down to main event time. If he needs to pass him, he knows where to do it.
Matiasevich, our series leader, and he gives 100% of the credit to the guy behind him as he takes the checkered flag and whips it sideways. Almost whipped it, as a matter of fact, with that rear wheel right into Jeff Ward's face. A handshake. Matiasevich is thinking, hell, I did it there. I can do it in the main. And Ward is saying, yeah, well, you just hold on until that main event rolls around. We'll see. Matiasevich, Ward, Chester, LaRocco, Dean Matson. We'll be back with more Supercross action right after this. Welcome back. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain. We're in the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California. It's round 8 of the Camel Supercross Series. This is the first semifinal. Earlier today, we looked at the heat races that position riders into the main event. Now, if a rider did not make it out of that heat, he comes back, rides a semi. The top 2 finishers here make it to the main. Right now, Gordon Ward is out front. He's number 138. Running in a number 2 position, number 30, Larry Brooks. And Keith Bowen running in 3rd. Now, watch what happens coming up. Dave, this is a sample of what we talk about. We talk about rookies and veterans. The rookie is Ward in this case.
Satchel Paige said, don't look back. Gordon Ward looked back, blew the jump, and Bowen and number 30 Brooks jumped right over the top of him. Bowen comes out with the lead, and Ward is saying, what did I do wrong? Actually, his problem started when he lost his drive going to the jump. He looked back to make sure nobody was going to land on top of him and kind of pulled off the racetrack when he saw these 2 guys coming. So I think it was probably wisdom being the better part of valor, but it'll cost him the victory.
It certainly will. The checkered flag going out to the veteran Keith Bowen, riding the Tough Racing Suzuki. Larry Brooks takes the other transfer position. And if the rest of the riders in semi number 1 have any intention of making it into that main event, they'll have to do it the hard way through the last chance qualifier. Semi-final number 2. Rules are the same. Top 2 make it into the main. Fred Andrews, number 18, is on the last lap of this one, and it looks like a cool-down lap. He's only going about 5 miles an hour. He's got a huge lead over Chris Young, who is, as I say, well behind him. Andrews takes the checkered flag. He wins it in a romp. Andrews goes to the main event, followed by Chris Young, both of them aboard Suzukis. Palmer, Fowler, and Smith to the last chance qualifier. One final shot at that main event.
And for a while, Larry, it looked like that last chance qualifier could be the revenge of Gordon Ward. Here he is out in front of Jason Upshaw and Ray Somo racing for that final spot in the feature. Remember the misfortune a moment ago for Ward. This time, it's Jason Upshaw who bites the front end into the face of that jump and tips over. So it boils down to a Ward versus Somo battle here with 1 shot left for the main event.
Ward, rider number 138, no relation to Larry or Jeff. We saw them a little bit earlier in the program. He's aboard that red Honda right beside him, or right behind him, I should say. Number 34 is Ray Somo aboard the yellow Suzuki. Somo is just kind of picking his way around the track. It's hard to say at this point whether or not he's given up on taking over that number 1 spot, but I would have to think if he's watching, then he would have seen that move by Gordon Ward, number 138, as Ward bobbled, and he probably is under the impression maybe that Ward is getting tired and that there's going to be an opening on this last lap. So watch Somo as he goes to work, and indeed he gets a drive around the outside, and Ward almost takes them both out. He just didn't want to give that place away, but he got a little bit slippery as he went around that corner. And Somo comes up over the top with a finger in the air that says either I'm number 1 or one man qualified and it's me. In any event, the field is set now, 20 riders for the main event. We'll be coming back with that action right after this. Welcome back. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain. We're at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. Not for football, if you've just joined us, but for Supercross. It's round 8 of the Camel Series. Dave, from time to time during the series, we've talked to Supercross fans about why they come to Supercross events, what they like about it. We found one thing, they're very loyal. We've met a fellow here in Southern California, I think, that might be the #1 loyal fan.
I think without a doubt that title has to go to Bob Langan. Let's go take a visit to Bob's place on what appears to be a quiet street in a typical suburban area. Now, the front side of Bob's home, pretty typical of the other homes along this street, unless you happen to pass by on that one day a month or so when the driveway is filled with all the factory team trucks. It's what's out back that offers the first clue that all is not normal here.
When I bought the place, I was looking for a house with a big backyard so I could build a bicycle track back here. And when I looked at the house, I looked at the backyard first, said I'd take it, and well, don't you want to look at the house? I'm all, well, okay, I guess I'll check out the house. And anyways, we ended up buying it and started building the bicycle track, and before too long, we started riding the XR80s around, and I kind of parked the bicycles and just kept the XR80s.
Known as Langtown, this 600-foot racetrack is a backyard work of art. It has 9 corners. There are 8 big jumps, an announcer's tower, a Supercross tunnel, and genuine Supercross decorations that consistently draw a patio standing room only crowd. Now, there are 1 or 2 differences between Langtown and a regular stop on the Camel Supercross Tour. Most notably, as pro Supercross rider Jim Holly points out, Langtown could use a little more room.
Most definitely. You might see someone go over into the next door neighbor's backyard, and you might even see a fence or 2 taken out.
And what do the neighbors think about all this?
Well, the neighbors love it. Their kids are here on their bicycles during the week and after school and stuff, and they really seem to enjoy it.
That is something. You know, it's a good thing that his hobby isn't circuses. Can you imagine a backyard full of elephants?
Or IndyCar racing. That'd be even worse.
Well, Langtown is close, but now it's time to take a look at the real thing. Let's start with the 125cc main event.
All right, down at the starting line, riders getting ready to move off on their parade lap. There goes last week's winner, number 125, Jeremy McGrath. And right behind him will come the Western Division Series point leader. Number 26 is Ty Davis. Here's the way the points stack up. Davis way out front over Michael Craig, whom you'll see before this night is over, I'm sure. McGrath's win last week moved him up into 3rd. Jeff Hemming and Kyle Lewis are the rest of the top 5 as we get set for the drop of the gate, Larry, and the start of the 125 feature.
We've not talked much about the 125 class today. We'll catch you up on that in just a little bit. There's Buddy Antonez, rider number 60. Next to him, Jimmy Gaddis. Now, there are a couple of riders, both of them, that have been riding hurt. They have both broken their wrist this season. So Suzuki was plagued with kind of the breaks there. Bad breaks, I guess you'd call. But one of those riders coming back off that sore wrist, number 31 out front, Jimmy Gaddis.
That's pretty remarkable because I can't think of an injury other than perhaps a broken ankle, which Damon Bradshaw has suffered, the early season 250 star. I can't think of another injury that's more hampering to a motocrosser than a broken wrist, and the leader has had one of those this year. The other guy back there, number 60, Antonez, just coming by, suffering from that same problem, and yet they're both back strong and running up front with a lot of competition, as you can see.
125 class, day in and day out, provides some of the most exciting racing action that you're going to find anywhere. The bikes are equal. The riders are all young. They're looking to make their mark in this professional motorcycle racing game, and they'll do just about anything out on that racetrack to say, hey, I am the best. Watch me. There's Kyle Lewis now running in the number 2 position, chasing Jimmy Gaddis, number 31. Gaddis aboard the Suzuki, Lewis on a Kawasaki, and behind him, Buddy Antonez, rider number 60, also Suzuki mounted.
Here come that lead trio. Let's go back and pick up the 4th place man just flashing into your screen. That is number 26, Ty Davis, and he's the Western Regional point leader. Remember, there are separate competitions in the Western and Eastern regions for these 125 riders. This being a West Coast race, we're seeing the best of the West here, and right now the best of the bunch is Jimmy Gaddis.
Well, the 125 class in this Western region have met 5 times this year. Ty Davis has won a pair of events. Jeremy McGrath has won one. Michael Craig was a winner, and Jeff Emig a winner. So all of these winners are running up close to the front. Field now is starting to stretch themselves out. Jimmy Gaddis coming off that broken wrist. You got to wonder how long can he last holding down that number 1 position. Kyle Lewis seems to have settled into that number 2 spot. Buddy Antonez seems content at this point to follow Kyle Lewis. So the 125 class not providing the action that it normally does, but here it comes. Kyle Lewis is a little bit to the outside. Buddy Antunez finds himself a brand new line to the inside. And look at that. He not only made the pass, but he made it with ease and opened up about a 5-bike length lead in the process. And here comes Ty Davis, number 26. So I would have to say that Kyle Lewis made some kind of an error in there to get off track.
So here now is your battle for third and fourth, as that drops the point leader back a position and puts Antunez up into that second spot, and indeed immediately opened a huge gap. So I think indeed it was a problem for Lewis. Interestingly enough, now this puts the broken wrist brigade out front. Pretty hard to imagine that two guys who have been injured could lead so impressively here so early in this event, and now it looks like Antunez is the guy with momentum. He is quickly reeling in Gaddis, and you have to wonder if he wasn't kind of letting this thing shake out a little bit and knew that he could run faster. Gaddis probably doesn't know he's coming yet, but at the pace that Antunez is closing, he's going to know it soon.
Well, as we watch these two front runners circulate around the track, the question remains in my mind, how long can they keep it up? They come down off the jumps like this. Now look at Gaddis land. Now he's trying to take the impact with his legs as much as he possibly can, but there has to be an extreme amount of pain, I would think, connected with that broken wrist. As he lands, you know, there's a shock that comes up through the front end, through the suspension, and into the handlebars and transfers directly to the guy's wrist. And that has to bother him.
When you watch these guys ride, you note that the seat on the motorcycle is almost unnecessary, because the connecting points really are their feet on the foot pegs, their hands on the bars. And so the wrists and the ankles take so much of the abuse. The blue flag indicating move over to the lappers as the battle for the lead continues, and more it is Antunez who looks like the guy who's going after this racetrack, and Gaddis is the guy who looks like he might be riding a little bit conservatively. They have pulled away from the battle now for third and fourth, and it looks like they want to settle this thing between them.
And we just saw, as Gaddis went around that corner, we saw him start to get a little bit on the sloppy side. Now, it could be that he is getting tired, or it could be he just made a mistake. 125cc riders are prone to make those mistakes, and that's why they're here. They're competing against each other, and it's all right to make the mistakes today. It's when you get into that 250 class, when all of the bucks are involved, that you don't want to make them. So we'll get that out of our system while we're riding these 125, and in the process provide some exciting racing, and that's what's happening right now. A lot of excitement as Antunez is probing, trying to put a wheel on the inside, the outside. He'll put it anywhere he possibly can. He wants Gaddis to know that he's back there. Look at this.
The other consideration is conditioning. When you're hurt, you can't train, or at least you can't. Whoa, that was close. Antunez took a shot at him, and Gaddis lost his momentum a little bit through the corner, and Antunez almost hit his rear wheel. Now drops in behind. And as they get battling side by side like that, it's slowing them up a little bit. The third place man, Ty Davis, is reeling him in. This could be a good race.
Now, Davis is the healthy one of the trio. Look at here. Comes Antunez. Antunez has got a good drive on the inside, and he makes the pass. He makes the pass. Gaddis had to go wide. Antunez was there. Possibly, had they not been teammates, you know, it's hard to make that call. Gaddis may have tried to shoot down across the front of Antunez. It would have been a dangerous move, a touchy move. But teammates being what they are, I think Gaddis, and of course coming off that wrist, I think Gaddis is just happy to be out there at this point. And he says, hey, let him go. And I would have to bet right now that Gaddis would settle for that number 2 position.
Gaddis looks tired to me. I don't think he's as aggressive as Antunez, and I believe the reason probably is just physical condition. See, he's a little ragged on the bars, and he's just not, he appears to be hanging on, whereas Antunez is much more attacking the racetrack. Anyway, the Suzukis are up front. We'll be back with more.
Bowl in Pasadena, California. This is round 8 of the Camel Supercross Series. Now we're watching the 125cc main event. Still to come, of course, the big guys in the 250 class. Whoa, and look at that. Ty Davis, that's rider number 26, the series points leader, Dave, and it looked like he was way up in the air, and it looked like he simply said, this is no place for me, and he kicked the motorcycle away. Let's take another look at that.
Yeah, he lost it on the launch. He got the front wheel too high. The bike's straight up and down. He knows he can't get it nose back over, and he figures, I'm getting out of here, and just threw it away.
A good move, and fortunately, he was all right. The bike did not come down on top of him, and he didn't get tangled up. Now we have another rider down. It's number 148. That's Brian Pryor. He's at the end of that long set of whoop-de-doos. Buddy Antunez should be coming along, and here comes Buddy Antunez. I don't believe that. Buddy Antonez had the entire straightaway to get out of the way of that melee, Dave, and instead he come along and plowed almost into the flagger. We've got to take another look at that one in slow motion.
And you want me to explain what happened, right? All I can tell you is brain fade is a strange and wonderful thing to watch, Larry. He was looking down over his front wheel. He wasn't watching where he was going. He hit the guy.
Well, that outside line through that whoop-de-doo section is by far the best line through there, but when you see a yellow flag, especially when you have, what, 50, 60 yards to look for it, it just looks to me like he should have seen it in any event. Back to the race action. Number 31, Jimmy Gaddis. This is the battle for the number 2 position. 125, Jeremy McGrath is after it. Gaddis has it, and McGrath moves to the front of Gaddis, but no, Gaddis comes right back. A good move on Jimmy Gaddis, or by Jimmy Gaddis. He just hit the brakes, got inside McGrath, and took over that number 2 spot, or took it back.